On this episode of Cars with Cory, we're going to be working on this 99 Mustang Cobra. It's got the Mach 460 system that isn't working. We're going to go ahead and put in an aftermarket Alpine stereo, 4 5x7 speakers, and get this thing sounding great again. Let's go. So we got a 99 Cobra owned by a friend of the family. Real nice car. I think it's only got 20,000 on it. This has got the lighter tan interior, and it's got the cooler mintier green, I guess I call it. It is a 5-speed. Pretty decent car, as to be expected with this low of miles, but she is a real Cobra. Basically untouched, really no modifications. I think it might have an exhaust under it, but other than that, nothing really to speak of. So, as mentioned, this car has the Mach 460 system in it, and it's not working. Owner took the stereo out of the dash, but we're gonna go ahead and put in an aftermarket stereo. With these things, you really cannot replace just the head unit. You have to kind of replace everything. So along with that, there's a big old enclosure in the trunk back here. We're gonna have to go ahead and remove that as well. So let's grab some tools and let's start taking stuff apart. Before we start taking the interior apart, let's go over what's going in the car. So we have a Alpine CDA 7892. This is a 2002 unit. It's got a motorized face. This is the mid-base engine, I guess, era, not the early, but the middle one. Great units. I sold these new in the early 2000s when I was kind of in the car audio business, but we got a Bluetooth adapter to add to it. This radio in this car has a separate tuner and CD player, so it takes up 2 radio slots. So we have a storage pocket we'll shove in where the standalone CD player was. Got speaker wire. We're gonna have to run all new speaker wire. And then I reached into the collection for wire harnesses to adapt to the car. I wasn't exactly sure which one it was. It's been several years, but so I just grabbed all of them, but we ought to have something in here that'll work. And as always, one of the first things we're gonna do is grab an 8mm and disconnect the negative battery terminal. For a couple of reasons. First of all, we don't want anything to short out. And second of all, we don't want to be killing the battery with the doors open and the dome light on. So, as mentioned, Cobra, through and through. This is the 32 valve, 4.6 liter, early iteration of it, the non-supercharged, non-terminator, but great engine, great car nonetheless. So as I mentioned, the Mach 460 has a large plastic, very thick, very heavy enclosure back here for the rear speakers. It also encloses 2 mono amplifiers, one right there and one right there. We're going to go ahead and remove this from the car. There's really no reason to keep it anymore. So unfortunately, this is one of the bigger pain in the butt of the jobs because we have to take out all of the rear interior to get the rear deck lid out, and then we can access the fasteners that will allow this to fall down. So I did get the back seat out already. I kind of feel like Vice Grip Garage Derek or Dalton the Pole Barn Garage or Junkyard Digs. I found a mouse nest, and for some reason this car has a little bit of water in it. I don't know if the window got left open or what, but the base of the back seat's real easy to get out. You just have to reach in here. There's a button you have to push. You have to make sure you push that in to release the seat. You'll hear it pop on both sides, and then you simply just lift up, pull the seat belts out of the holes for the seat belts, and the bottom of the seat will come right out. So next up, we're going to remove the seat back, probably both side panels, and the rear deck lid. Alright, let's see how good my mouse nest removal skills are. Gosh, I hope I don't get sick from this. Yuck. Okay, to get the back seat out, there are 2 10s on the bottom. There's one there and one right there. And then flipping the seat down, there are 3 8mm for this trim piece up here, one in the middle, one on the end. These are typically broken. Screws were loose. I took these out by hand, but let me get that out and we'll go ahead and keep digging in. And once your 3 top bolts are out, bottom 2 bolts are out of the backrest of the seat, this just lifts off, exposing 2 more 10mm fasteners to pull the seat frame out. So now that we got the upper two fasteners out, we can hold the seat backs up, and yeah, it's basically just falling out of there. So we'll get the seat back out of here. Now that the seat is out, I think I'm going to try to get this upper deck lid off without taking off the side panels on both sides. Just smack the light, but there are two of these panel clips in there. Guys, you're going to need a pry tool. This one's from Harbor Freight, or a cat claw like this to get these out. I'm going to try to pull those out and see if I can get that loose without taking the whole back seat out, essentially. Well, guys, I could probably get it out of there, but I'll never get it back in, so I'm afraid at least one side of the interior panel is going to have to come out. Might be able to shimmy it in and out of the other side, but I went ahead and pulled the front seat out. I know you guys can't tell on camera, but I'm 6'4" and 200 and, well, yes, pounds. So I'm a big guy, it's a little car, so might be in your best interest to pull the seat out, give yourself a little more room. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull these interior panels. There's some more than body or panel clips there. I don't know if there's really any fasteners. The top ones will have the seat belt and then the little hook. Probably just some general fasteners there, but we just need to get them out of the way, so I'll just accomplish that. Probably nothing else, just enough to get that rear deck out. Okay, we got the passenger side out. No surprises, really. Had to take the seat belt, the back seat loose from the floor to sneak it through the hole. Had to take the shoulder belt here for the front seat loose and wiggle it out. There were a couple more of these plastic trim fasteners like these. There's one hiding kind of behind here. I had to rotate the top down to pull that one. There's one in here holding the top in. There's also two itty bitty ones that were holding the seal in, so be mindful of those. But with any luck, this thing should just rotate right out of here, which it does. So looks like we only got to take one side apart. Okay, now that we've got the rear deck out, we can see the speakers. We've got a tweeter, 5x7 woofer, same on that side. There are two wire clips. I'm going to try to unclip those from the inside there and back here, and then pull the 6 fasteners and drop that enclosure out of there. So, okay, got the wire harnesses disconnected, and they're just 6 10mm, 1, 2, and 3, and then 3 more on this side. It's like my little Milwaukee cordless ratchet will just barely fit in there. Oh geez. Okay, down you go. Okay, we've got the wire harness loose, and we've got this big beast completely loose. This thing weighs a ton. I don't see a reason to put it back in there. Yeah, it's kind of a nice big enclosure, but we're putting coaxials in that are designed for free air use, so I don't think it's going to do us any good. So we're just going to remove this from the equation. Okay, so since I didn't pull this side of the interior panels, the disconnect for this umbilical is back there, so I think I'm just going to zip tie this up nice, button it up, and shove it down there and leave it in the car. And right on time, not a minute early, not a minute late, our Meso and Tropo 5x7s from CT Sounds just arrived. I have not worked with CT Sounds equipment before. They did not sponsor me, or at least they're not a sponsor yet. But I've been curious about their products. I've been wanting to try them. We went with 2 Mesos. The front doors may not have enough room for them, so I got a set of Tropos too. The Tropos are the ultra low profile. The Mesos, as you can see, got a pretty big magnet structure on them. So shout out to CT Sounds. We're gonna put them in this Mustang and see how they work out. Well, I couldn't resist. Had to pull one out. This is a impressive looking little speaker. It's got a nice woven cone to it. Got what appears to be a butyl rubber surround. And that is the largest magnet I have ever seen on a 5x7. It's regular 4 ohm. It's got the nice push locks for the connectors. So like I said earlier, I'm pretty excited to see how these things do. And the speakers drop right in just like they should. I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm gonna install them with the grills on. Reason being, Ford left part of the carpet on the underside of the speaker grills. And I know why they did that. They did that to protect the speaker and the surround from the sun. But the speaker's gonna be pretty close and I don't want it flapping around hitting that. So I test fitted it. It will fit with a grill on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the grill on. You won't see it anyway, but it will protect that speaker from smacking up against that carpet. And also, I'd rather leave this in place so it does block the sun from damaging the speaker. Sunlight will destroy speakers and speaker surrounds. Well, it took a little ingenuity, but we have the first one in. I ended up putting a screw in opposite corners here, and then there's provisions for each end, which I was able to get in, but not CT Sound's fault, but every one of these is a little bit different. The holes didn't line up perfectly. Of the 4 outer holes, I could get 2 of them to line up, so I hit it with a short self-tapper on this side and on the opposing side. So there are 4 screws in there, the grill is in there, and it's going to be just fine. I did have to break into some of the tools I never use, which is the angle adapter and these bent screwdrivers to get the fasteners in there. There's really just not a lot of room in here between the speaker itself and the glass. There's just about 1.5 inches is all. So let's get the other one in and start wiring them up. So for demonstration, what I didn't show you on the other one, down here I've got a self-tapper. Up here I've got a self-tapper. And then 2 of the regular mounting holes will line up, the other 2 will not. This one's actually pretty close. We might try to still get one into there, but this one's actually drilled closer. We might be able to get all 4 of them in there, but anyway, if they don't line up, that's what you can do. You ought to have at least 3 or 4, ideally, screws holding the speaker in. Okay, we've got speakers in, we've got wires ran, tied up nice with P-clamps, and ran over the side. I considered running them up through the rear deck, but I decided to just tie them up nicely down here where they're out of the way and won't interfere with anything in the trunk. Speaking from many, many years of experience, get yourself a 9-volt battery, and before you put everything back together, pop the speakers once. Just make sure they make noise, check both channels to make sure your wiring is proper. You don't want to put it all back together and find out that there's an issue and have to take it all back apart again. Okay, wires are buttoned up. I simply ran them up over the framing, over this wheel tub, down in the seat well, and then up over the little bulkhead here. As you can see, I taped over them. I like using either like a black duct tape, or this is just electrical tape that's super wide. It's not the most robust way to hold things down, but it does kind of push everything out of the way and makes assembly easier so wires aren't flopping around in your way. Other thing I like to do is, while I have the interior panels out, get in and vacuum all the crud out. Actually, as I was setting this one down, I noticed there's a mouse nest in there. Another one. So, yay! We'll clean all that out. Get this thing vacuumed up nice. Yummy. Okay, back seat is back in. Everything went without a hitch. No wires showing. Everything's cleaned up and ready. So, now we're on to the doors. These doors are very sensitive. There's a couple of things you need to know. First of all, the tweeter cover here, there is a screw behind there that holds the door panel on. You have to pull this out very straight. You can't get underneath one corner and pull. It'll rip it off. It has to come out straight out. So start taking that apart. Another thing to know, there is a tab in the controls here in the handle. It's right in here. That will break if you're not careful. So be careful with that. We're going to pull the surround around the door handle itself out. There's a couple screws behind here, one behind there, and then the whole thing will just lift off. Okay, order of operations. So again, the Mach tweeter cover, be very, very careful. Pull that out straight. I started prying here, got it to move a little bit, and I just worked my way all the way around. And about the time I hit right here, it came right off without breaking, no issues. Next I went on to the surround for the door handle. This has a clip on the front. I found that starting to pry up here by the front, released it. So like here, and it just kind of came right out. I basically just jammed one of my plastic tools down in there to kind of push that down, and it slid right out. For the door pocket switch housing, here's the tab at the top. There is a recess you can see right there. I pried that down and out, and then the one that's the real bare is this guy down here, and it attaches into there. That one took some massaging. I had to use a few pry tools to kind of gently just work it up and out of there. So once I had that out, the switch housing has 2 screws in it. One goes there, one goes there, and then the switch comes right out. At that point, fortunately, I remembered you can't really get this guy out until you have the door frame off or the door panel, excuse me. At this point right here, you should be able to shimmy the door panel off, which I was able to. Right now it's just kind of setting there, but I want to show you guys, there's these little clips down here that hold the tweeter housing on. You do not want to break those, so leave this guy intact until you get it out, and we'll just get a little pick tool underneath of there and pull it loose and get the tweeter housing out. So I wanted to show some more detail on the tweeter housing. There's just 2 screws, one there, and that'll let the whole housing fall off here. We already touched on this clip right here. I don't think that, unless you pull the door panel back and get a pick tool under there, I don't think you're going to get that one loose with the panel on. The good news is, if you pull it out just a little bit at the front, this one will pop loose, and that was just enough to get the door panel off. So I don't need to take this off, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to put it back on, and then I'm going to snap that last clip back in once I get the door panel on. But be really careful with these guys, because if you break them, these door panels are unique because they don't have a blank cover here, and you have a gaping hole there or a loose tweeter. So we've got some good news. The CT Sounds Meso 5x7 is actually shorter than the stock Mach 460 speaker. So the better speakers will fit, so we'll send the shallow mount ones back, and we're going to go with these. Great news, because I'm really excited to hear these things. So since we're running all new wires, we're going to have to run through that boot that goes in behind the kick panel here. The kick panel just has one of these plastic fasteners there, and then I got a pry tool right in the top here, and the clip in the top hold right loose. It just has a locator and then one of these snap clips, and then the hole for the push pin. So since we have to run all new wires, we'll get one run through the kick panel here, right through that boot, and eventually up to the dash to the stereo. Alright, we got the wire fished through. Speaker is in. I did put foam tape around the outside on the back side to seal it up. Everything lined up. We popped it with a 9-volt battery to make sure everything was working. So we're going to go ahead and put this door panel back together. Basically, the exact opposite as I showed earlier. Hang the door panel. You want to hook up your switches, put your switch thing in, put your bezel for the door handle in, and then go ahead and get your tweeter snapped in and the cover put on it. Obviously remembering the couple of screws. There's a couple of screws in here. There's also a body or interior plug that goes in the front here, and then there's one screw that goes in here. So really just those 3 screws and that body plug in the front, and that's all that fastens it in. So I'm not going to show you guys putting it back together or doing the other door. I'll just come back when the front speakers are in and we're ready to start wiring up the stereo. Okay, got the driver's side wrapped up. All 4 speakers are in. I did want to comment. I had mentioned earlier that I got the door panel off with this thing intact. It won't go back on with it in there. You've got to, I showed earlier, you take the 2 screws out and lightly detach the top. I just dangled it kind of over the side here and put the door panel on, then snapped it back in place, put the screw in it, and put the grill back on it. So wanted to share that with you guys. Critically important that you get all of the hooks. There's all kinds of hooks that go into some holes inside of the door. You want to make sure you get all those hooked. If you got 2 of them unhooked over here and all of them hooked over here, door's not going to close right. It's going to feel weird when you pull on it to close it. You don't want that to happen. Another thing too, there's a white plastic sheet behind the door, or some colors. Sometimes they're clear, sometimes they're black. If that's loose, take some tape and stick it back on. This one on this driver's door was loose. Somebody had been in here before and left it loose. If you don't fasten it back down, you could get some squeaks and rattles and sound like a plastic bag moving when your speakers are trying to play bass. So let's go over to the dash, get the pocket in, and get everything wired up. Okay, we've got everything wired up. So the car has a standard flat Ford connector, been around since the 80s. We really only use it for the red, yellow, and black wire for constant battery, switch 12 volts, and ground. There is a illumination left in this harness, but the stereo actually doesn't have a dimmer wire. So we just needed the 3 wires off the car, and obviously the antenna, all the rest of the speaker wires, and the wires we ran up in, and I ran to the harness. So we have our Bluetooth adapter ready to hook onto the Alpine AI net. So this car actually came with the stereo out and the dash bezel out, otherwise I'd have showed that, but we've already got the cage for the stereo mounted up and the 98-5999 Ford Turbo Pocket, which is a Metra part. I'll never forget that part number. They call it a Turbo Pocket because it's super fast. You just basically slap it in there and the retaining clips on either side hold it in place. Super easy. So I'll go ahead and get all this in the dash and we'll fire it up and make sure everything's working. Okay, we've got everything hooked up. Everything's in the dash. Let's see how it sounds. Sounds real good. I'm really impressed with these CT Sound speakers. Just off the power of the head unit, they got a pretty good sound to them. They certainly could do more with some amplification, but they do sound great. So got it all back together. Sounds pretty good. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cars with Cory. We got that Mach 460 system out of the Mustang. We got in a new head unit, 4 new speakers, ran all new wires. Can be done. It's unfortunate that the Mach 460 systems just didn't last, don't work very well, but it is what it is. It's 11 o'clock, I'm tired, and I got tools to pick up. If you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Appreciate it very much, and we'll see you next time. Little outtake for everyone. This is the mess I created. I'm going to be up picking up tools all night long.